Well, good afternoon, everybody. On Saturday, we had half a day and then half a day of stormy weather. And of course, hopefully you enjoyed the rain and didn't mess up your plans too badly. I know Friday night we had all kinds of problems with the games and the rain and all that stuff. Anyway, over the weekend, we had 2.2 inches at Riverside at the park. Telfiner had 2.5, and LaSalle had 2 inches. 9,500s down in Raisin and Stratton got DeWitt County got almost 2.5. Hallettsville, a little less than an inch. It was great. And did you notice we didn't get any flooding? Everything just sucked right into the ground. So we are looking, shall we say, a nice break, a nice breather. And now I want to say goodbye to summertime, because these are the last few days of the summer of 23, which all of us, I'm sure, are going to remember. We have a little frontal system that's just basically a stationary front, a little drier air up here than what we had. If you remember, we had that little stationary front that was coming down, and then it triggered the rain, and then it just kept going. That's why Sunday was so nice, and frankly, I thought it was going to hang around and continue the rain activity, but that's okay. We'll take one day of rain and one day of nice. Temperatures across the state are being much more reasonable. I mean, they're not in the hundreds. That's what I'm saying is more reasonable. 94 for us, 95 in Port Lavaca. We're looking at 93 in the Dallas area. But again, all this, courtesy of the dry air, is not so bad. In fact, tonight we're getting down to about 68, 69 degrees in many inland areas. Now, of course, along the coast, it'll be a little bit milder, but there are the forecast highs for tomorrow. So we stay in the mid 90s, but as I mentioned, with low humidity, it's a little bit more bearable. Interesting to note that because the air or the winds are so light and the air is rather stable, both Houston and San Antonio had ozone action days. Now, you're lucky we don't have them here because we're not as big, but when you got all those cars on the freeways, they pollute, and unless the wind comes to blow it away, it sort of hangs in the air. So that's basically a sign for people to stay indoors, especially those that have emphysema, bronchitis, something like that. You know, it's a big city problem, and you know, I worked in Los Angeles for 20 years, and I know what that feels like. Anyway, Lee is way up here, racing across the northern Atlantic after, you know, coming ashore as a Category 1 right over Nova Scotia. I mean, it could have been a whole lot worse. We have Nigel out here in the mid-Atlantic, not a problem. And then the O storm would be right here. I think it's, I can't remember, but it starts with an O, would be right here. And so that puts us at what, 16 named storms this season. And a little bit later on, I'll be pulling up the forecast that I did June 1st, and we'll see who was closest. Here's the list. Yes, we have done all of these, and Ophelia will be that next storm. And then let's see if we can get to the P&R. The good news is neither of those have our direction in sight. Looking at a 76 for a low along Port Lavaca, getting up only to 92. That's not bad. But 71, maybe, you know, 68, 69. A couple areas will be fairly quiet and clear. Overnight should be a very lovely evening with a high of about 94. So we are dry here. We start picking up a little Gulf moisture here for some clouds and maybe a sprinkle or two in the afternoon hours. But as you can see, I'm not putting any hundreds in there. Hopefully by Saturday, which is the official beginning of fall, we can say goodbye to all that stuff. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that and put Crossroads Today on your phone.